Okay, everybody ready? Oh, we're a minute late. Liz is gonna yell at me. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the city of San Juan Bautista's. This is a special meeting, and this will be a budget meeting. I'd like to call it to order. Um, you want to volunteer for Pledge of Allegiance? There you go. You're a great mayor.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just share.
Next month. I made sure before I came to the meeting.
Yippee.
I knew.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you asked. Oh, roll call, please.
Councilmember Freeman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan.
Here.
Councilmember Boris Lopez. Here. Councilmember Sabathia
Here.
and Mayor Frios.
Here. Okay, public comment. Public comment is limited to items on the special agenda. Do we have any public comment, Liz?
No, we can wait after the presentation.
Okay, sounds good. And now we're in this number 2, discussion items, a budget update workshop. Are you, what's that?
I'm just looking at the new equipment. She's got 2 monitors there.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. I don't have to see myself talking. Those creatures, yeah. Don, you ready?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I did throw together a few slides to summarize the brief staff report that accompanied the budget. And I also attached the staff report from May 21st because it has a lot of summary and history background items. So rather than repeat that all in a new report, we'll just keep adding to this one and have one big report in the end. And the idea is to introduce the budget in May, generally speaking, and then schedule workshops in June with adoption prior to June 30th. And right now we're scheduled to have this budget workshop. There's time for more. And then a proposed approval June 18th, 2024. And if we don't get there, then we have maybe the following Tuesday, the 25th, to still adopt the budget before the end of the month. So that's the goal and the plan that we've worked on for years. In the beginning of May, we worked on our strategic plan, and we saw that 54 of our objectives were accomplished during the first year of the 5-year plan. We evaluated and ranked 63 objectives, and 25 ranked as top priorities for the next fiscal year. So that gives me direction on where to put the money. But this year is pretty much status quo as we're heading into the new fiscal year. I do have some better details tonight on the capital improvement plan, and I believe Jerry's here to join us if we need some background on the capital improvement plan. And I saw that Wendy was on the call today, just back from Europe. So she's probably like 9 hours ahead of us. We'll be as quick as we can, Wendy. So I wanted to make sure the council was aware that Wendy and Jerry were joining us today. So let's see. Do I have to use the mouse? This is the fund summary. The general fund is the one we watch the most closely because it's got the most flexibility. We also watch our sewer and water enterprise funds very closely. And you can see that both of them are doing quite well after the budget. So these are proposed revenues, proposed expenditures for the new fiscal year, and then what we were hoping the balance will look like at the end of the fiscal year. And typically we will subsidize community development with general fund. This year is higher than usual. It was like 250 last year. This is for work on housing elements and long-range planning efforts, not the work that is reimbursed by developers. So that's the difference between the expenditures and the revenue here. We don't see a lot of development right now, so the revenues are not that high. The COPS grant is for the funding a sheriff's deputy. The permanent local housing initiative, we've talked about a lot. We're using it for homeless services. So this grant helped us take off what general fund was proposed to support homeless services in the county public health department, able to use this permanent local housing grant. And there's going to be more on that to follow also on June 18th. The lighting districts for Valley Vista, and then the CFD zone 1 and 2 for Copper Leaf and Rancho Vista. Those are the assessment districts that maintain them. And then our gas tax is what you pay at the pump and our allocation to use in our streets and roads. And then we have a parking and restroom fund, which is a small percentage of our transit occupancy tax, which is also part of the general fund, so you don't see that. So that's an overview of our funds and our status, pretty healthy as we move forward. One of the things that rose up to the surface and caught our attention a few months ago, 6 weeks ago, was the public safety. As we reorganized and we hired our public safety coordinator, Roy Morales, who's with us here tonight as well. We're hiring a community service and code enforcement officer. Interviews on Thursday. And we're terminating our private security contract June 30th, which is $123,000 savings. Most of you know that the County Board of Supervisors did not approve the new positions that the sheriff put forward a couple weeks ago. So we were able to remove the 150 from the budget, which is good for the numbers, but maybe not what we wanted. That was not our first preference for service levels. The fire service contract has been questioned by Hollister. Recently, it's been fairly quiet. So city manager and I are collecting data and working on that. But we haven't heard any more concerns from the Hollister City Council. At least the two members of their council who spoke up quite loudly about 3 meetings ago. It was recommended in the Citygate reports that we set up a sub-reserve category for disaster preparedness. That was Andy Green's recommendation, and we have the funds available in our general fund reserve. So we are recommending that we put $100,000 aside, and we use that for public safety. Especially if there is a disaster and emergency, or if we need to quickly respond because the contract has been reopened. That was in the fire department contract budget originally, so I removed it to put it in a reserve fund, so it wasn't so designated like that. Because we haven't seen any real changes come forward or requests. The fiscal status, the city could call on the water debt if it needed to. If the city is owed $800,000 to the general fund from the water enterprise fund, and you saw in those balances that there's sufficient funds there to pay off that debt, to call that debt. So and then we also have the $2 million in reserves on our general fund balance. So those two combined give us a lot of breathing room on the short term. And then I just wanted to assure the council that we do have some money saved aside in case of emergency. General fund revenues are higher than in the past, growing at 8%, about 2.4 million projected for June 30th. And expenses are higher at 5.6%. But in general, but when it all washes out, the general fund has a positive balance of 143,591. And you know, that's the number I like to play with when we move forward with the budget. It's like, okay, what little studies and things can we get out of that balance to bring that a little closer to zero, because our reserves are so strong. Sales tax. I shared with the council a report from Andy Green, a review of our sales tax, very precursory on the superficial level. And Andy reports that there's room for growth, that the city website shows the city at 0.75% starting in 2022. And I don't recall what that was, or he mentioned a state measure that was passed. And I want to say the something act. And that should have been a full 1%, not 0.75. So he thinks it's worthwhile to take a look at our sales tax and find out why we didn't get the full 1% and what was happening before 2022. So that report really startled him, and looks like that could be good news in our future if we study this and flush it out. The sales tax can grow another 0.5%. The state limits that to 9.5, and another 0.25% would equal 250,000 a year. So it does require a vote, of course, with a campaign. And he suggested we might start looking at that in November 2025. So we could be doing an assessment of our sales tax this fall and then work on possibility for having a campaign measure next year if the council is so inclined. And it's critical because inflation continues to grow and our expenses continue to grow. And right now we're in a no growth development strategy position with our sphere of influence. So we have to find ways to grow our general fund so we can just keep up and maintain what we have, especially in terms of retaining employees. So I asked the council to consider a funding analysis and we can talk about that more. And Wendy can help us with that conversation as well. In recreation, we had a policy presentation May 21st, and there's a lot of variables. A lot of different cities have different discounts and charges and fees for service. And we brought that forward to the council to help us form a budget for recreation this year that's meaningful and provides value and programs. No decisions were made. So what Caitlin Brady and I decided to do was just add $50,000 in recreation revenue. You know, if we collect $5 out of the $15 cost for a movie, for example, that could add up and that could help increase expenditures by the same amount so that we have some kind of budget to move around in as we start new programs. At the same time, the council approved a volunteer program, what could potentially be a really robust volunteer program. And the residents are really supportive of the recreation and they've gone out and helped us already with our movie night and some other special events. So I think the volunteer program is going to also help us evaluate how to best staff our recreation moving forward. We need to explore new service contracts with the Youth Alliance or YMCA, the Arts Council. They all offer programs that maybe that $50,000 could help pay for. So what we'd like to do is launch that and experiment with it as we prepare a recreation program for next fiscal year and then check in at mid-year to see what's successful and what's not, what was too expensive and what didn't cost enough, and just come to a better idea with the policies that we talked about. It would be really helpful to have a part-time assistant if the revenue offset can be established. That'd be about $25,000 or $30,000 in recreation revenue. We also talked about establishing a nonprofit grant program. So of the 143, I'm suggesting tonight that we put 50,000 aside from the general fund balance and establish a solicitation process and calendar, hold a workshop for all of the nonprofits about the application process, and then use the city's recreation budget to perhaps leverage new programs. So if a nonprofit is granted money for a program in our city, maybe the recreation budget then could help incentivize or make that program even better or stronger. So they could work together. That's because this responsibility would fall to the recreation position. So it would make sense to keep it all together. So before I go into the capital improvement budget, does anyone have any questions on any of those first 7 slides? Or did you want me to keep on?
Yeah.
That's.
We got.
And I have a question, are we able to be double sided?
No.
I think we're missing.
It's like every other page, I think.
I know.
Well, it's on this, but yeah.
That's because I didn't let Liz copy them. This is why. I copied them myself. Yeah, so I have a double-sided one here. Shoot. I guess so. Yeah, it just gets confusing because the slide ends up upside down when you turn the page. But this is a double-sided. Thank you, Liz. Sorry about that, everybody.
We used to have maps, you know. Okay, John, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
My question is on the sales tax, Don. So we're only getting 0.75% right now that's returned to us. I thought the state kept 6 and gave the rest to either the special districts such as the school district and the local jurisdiction, whether it be the county or the city. So you know, I thought we would be getting like 2%, you know, I don't know where I got that idea, but I thought that's what most cities got was around 2% for sales tax and return.
I can quickly go to the website and bring it up if you want to look at it.
Does Wendy have an answer to that?
Or maybe Wendy knows, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this was brought up to me while I was out of the country, and I think that it'd be best for us to speak to do our research and get back to you on it.
Wasn't that just a general question, though? I mean, do you know anything about state sales tax and how much the state gets versus how much a city could potentially get?
I don't know exactly what the allocations would be for our particular city. So again, I'd like to have the opportunity to research that and get back to you.
Well, I was just thinking because just right here in the county, we have 3 jurisdictions and 3 completely separate tax rates for sales tax. We got the county at like 8.5, us at 9, and Hollister, the city of Hollister at 9.25. So something tells me that somewhere above 8, the jurisdiction should be getting everything.
Well, correct. So the point that was being made here is not just for the sales tax, it's for the Bradley Burns tax, which is roughly half the tax that you get, so close to that 1%. So it was made up. I learned while I was gone that Andy believed that we were only getting 0.75, and since I haven't had the chance to research that, I'd like to have that opportunity to get back to you.
Personally, I'd be in favor of exploring every opportunity to increase our spread or whatever you want to call it, the delta between what the state keeps and what we can get. And if, because we need all the sales tax we can get. In the state.
Understood, and this may be a good opportunity to dig a little deeper into that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Andy's letter in the back of the staff report. He talks about the 1% Bradley Burns sales tax allocation for the information on the salestaxhandbook.com. That's the website where we found the breakdown, and I believe it is 6.2 and 0.75, something like that. There's 3 or 4 different agencies with their and sales tax. Yeah. But he wasn't sure why it didn't start until 2022. This is a website that has information available for the conservative side of the world, the Jarvis Gann types, and so just assume that they have their numbers right. So that's what Wendy's referring to, of checking into that.
Okay, well, I'm just in favor of getting all that we can get from the state keeps enough money already. That's, you know, we can use it better than they can.
Interesting. That is an interesting point, though, how everybody has different sales tax, but.
Yeah.
You good so far? Good.
I'm not.
Yeah, thank you. You said the hiring of Roy has done interviews already and will be making an offer on Thursday?
No. Yeah, the final interviews. Yeah, we've done 1 set of interviews. Final interviews are this Thursday. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
and some really good candidates. Right, this is our second go round with the new job description. Much better candidates.
And then we have a fire meeting on June 6th, so hopefully somebody might show up to answer our questions on where we are with that. And along that same line, do we potentially get to propose that Citygate has that capability of creating fire districts and could potentially be less expensive than who we're going? Have we already proposed that to them?
No, we haven't. I haven't heard anything since Chris Mangano came to the last meeting, right? And said they needed another $40,000 to finish the study.
I thought we were gonna propose Citygate. I think we had a Citygate meeting right after that. Or
Right.
before that, and we're gonna propose
So
or
I-
send them a note going, hey.
I sent her an email and asked her if they were considered in the bid process, and I never got a response.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, because we were looking at the 2018 study and I think Citygate did that stuff.
Yeah,
They did,
right.
they did South Santa Clara counties. They did a few districts in the area.
Something like that, yeah. So there's more than one option out there.
Can you please go back to? Oh, hang on. Yeah, go back a slide.
Thank you. Oh, I got one.
Thank you. The Youth Alliance, versus the YMCA, are these county or city of Hollister agencies? Do you know?
Yes, I know. The Youth Alliance serves the whole county. It's a nonprofit. I used to know the executive director, but he's now since taken another job. The YMCA serves all three counties, I believe, Santa Cruz and Monterey County, and their offices are located, I believe, in Monterey. But they've expressed an interest in coming out and running youth programs for the city. And that's a way for us to take advantage of our community hall.
Yeah, absolutely. And
and-
way better that they're county versus the city.
Right, and it would be, there are three independent nonprofits. They're both independent.
They just happen to be, well, the Youth Alliance happens to be located in the city. That's why I asked the question. I wasn't just making sure we get to use them without that we get to use them.
Yeah, we had a discussion, I want to say 18 months ago, and I had members of the public calling me and requesting that we stay with the local Hollister group and not go to the YMCA.
Right, yeah, I remember that too.
Okay,
Thank you,
yeah.
yeah. Explain, on the next slide, establish a solicitation process and calendar. That's for, volunteers, solicitation for volunteers?
No, that's for nonprofits. So, and I think we've had this conversation in one form or another over the past couple council meetings. Rather than responding to random requests for funding and support throughout the year,
Oh,
that
okay.
we do this all at once.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I used different words last time.
I think it was different words.
Sorry. And then we would hold a workshop for the nonprofits so they could all understand the application process.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. I just needed that clarification on the language. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the hard work on this, but I just have to put this out there. We were just made aware of this meeting change on Friday. The meeting was to be held this Saturday, so this is just volumes of information in a short amount of time. Just want that on the record for the public. So anyway, the questions that I do have are based on the first packet that wasn't double-sided. Took some notes. So on the budget workshop, the first slide that talks about public safety considerations. Maybe you can answer this. What was the rationale for denying the second deputy to our city? Did they state the board of supervisors that voted or said no?
All I know is secondhand, and I want to say mostly from council members who watched. John was watching, and there was some activity in the board of supervisors of wanting to focus on infrastructure and repairing streets rather than funding a second deputy. There's actually 3 positions. There were 2 school officers and our position, and none of them were funded.
So not even the school, they didn't want any enforcement, they wanted roads fixed?
Yep.
Okay.
So, if I can interject for a second, I spoke with our supervisor and he said that there was a big push for infrastructure, but that this removal wasn't exactly how we interpreted it. And I said, well, we seriously need to have a conversation on that then, because we are now without a deputy that the sheriff said we could have. That we've all talked and it was a go, and now it's not, so.
That was a contingent for future enforcement in our city. I mean, you
Right.
guys sat around before I got elected with that being the
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah, so our supervisor said that that's not really how it happened, but to actually have a conversation, is TBD.
To be determined.
Yeah.
So if we squawk enough, can we get it back? Is the
Not
strategy?
this year, not this year.
Not this year? Okay, so, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had money set aside for
Yeah,
over 2 years now, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why we had
apparently our
the,
county supervisor doesn't
And I
care.
made that
no,
perfectly
he
clear
does
to him.
care.
I made that perfectly
does
clear to him
care.
when he called about a concern that he had about another committee, and I said, we as a city, you need to start
We
having
need-
conversations with us on when you're gonna take away stuff that we've already budgeted for.
Right.
So hopefully that will happen, better late than never.
So then what, how does that work now that we're not renewing the contract with private security? We don't have
Well,
that second.
We can go out to a different private.
Well, yeah,
security
that's what I'm
company,
saying. We can
but-
consider somebody else if we don't have a second deputy. We can't get 80 hours out of our poor guy that's here,
Well,
or does he? So anyway, that was my question. And then fire service contract question by Hollister. And I have to say, reading in the short time that I had to review all of this paperwork, that kept coming up, like, how is Hollister justified trying to gouge us when the calls that are coming out of, for the county on the west side or accidents,
outside too.
south side too, that they're stationed here, they're running us, it's not our city, that's requiring all that. And what about charging them for the lease of our building, the utilities, whatnot,
We already do. We charge them for it.
maybe not enough.
Well, that's probably true.
It's increased,
Yeah.
right? So, that concerned me that we may be without a service, and then you guys are talking about a fire district. Who would be in that district?
The entire county.
So it'd be like a water district. We'd kind of reformat
It'd
the
be
agency.
just one big fire district.
Okay, and so then would we still be required to pay a line share for a mouse's use?
It depends on what the study comes out, but
Okay.
most of them are done as an assessment per parcel. So everybody would pay an equal share countywide.
Okay,
That's the way most of them work, but we're waiting now for another, it's been
and then also.
a year now.
Another thing that jumped out at me is that there is a clause that says they can terminate with 200 and something days.
Mhm.
So we could be left without fire.
Right, and that's what alarmed us, and me
Yeah.
in particular. And
Uh,
I asked Roy to watch the meeting, and Roy's been in conversations. The good news is we have a new chief, and he's open to these conversations, so it's gonna be easier to communicate with the fire department moving forward, I think.
He looks friendly, if that means anything. He showed,
So
he
far-
showed up
so
here.
far, he does.
I got a good feeling.
I just remember that was only two council members that from Hollister that was, one was grandstanding and I think the other one was agreeing with him.
Okay.
So we're still, it'd be suicide if they, just today, the three calls today were all in the county.
Yeah.
One on the grade, one at 129 and 101 and one at 101 in Cannon. So
Yeah, we had one yesterday, a medical call in the city, but that was, one out of how many? And then the other page that I looked at was, John, thank you for the question. And everybody else that expanded on that about the 1% sales tax. And then just to clarify, Dawn, with your report where it says, this is critical due to inflation and a no growth development strategy. I have question marks, exclamation marks, because I work really hard on the urban growth boundary and sphere of influence. And it's not a no growth development strategy. We're looking at infill. We're looking at sensible, smart growth within places and locations within the city. So it's more infill. It's not no growth. So if you can strike that. And I think the $50,000 in the general fund. So if we took that away from just estimate 143,000 or 144,000, then we're left with under 100 grand as our reserve
And we have 2 million in reserve.
Okay, so then I'm looking at the general fund balance of 143,591. And then if you take away 50 grand, then that leaves us with roughly 95,000, right?
Right, technically it's closer to 80,000,
Okay,
because there's a cost of living increase and some other things that are in there, so.
okay. And then, so using the city's recreation budget to leverage new programs, what types of new programs are you guys thinking about?
The emphasis in starting a recreation program was to focus on both ends of the spectrum, being kids and seniors. And we found right as we started, the seniors nonprofit was planning a Valentine's dance, right? So we didn't want to step on any toes. So it's a matter of working with the existing groups and enhancing them, making them better.
That's it. Thank you.
Yep. So most of my comments are gonna be framed through an understanding of this statement. So I look at the, Don's statement about things being critical due to inflation and no growth development strategy. Infill is essentially no growth when it comes to a revenue standpoint. Citygate made the statement to us, that a lot of our, positive, steps towards having a stable financial situation. A lot of that was due to some of the impact fees and things associated with new development. And as we start spending more, doing more, with what we've got, if we're not having those same types of income, we should be a little bit more, I don't want to say fiscally responsible, but more cognizant of how we spend, given that we won't have the same types of drastically the same types of income going forward because of our development strategy. So about the sales tax, yeah, I'm in favor because of, we have to have some income from somewhere. And unfortunately, trending things have been getting more expensive over the years instead of cheaper. I'm in favor of expanding that how we can, to try to maximize a little bit more return there. I think that makes sense. And then really understanding we should have a great understanding of whatever that formula is for how that tax breaks down. So I'm looking forward to whatever analysis Wendy and Don, you guys can come up with, so that we really understand that should be something we should be able to look at, in a one-liner.
Yeah.
And really understand that. So as we say we expand, we shrink, or whatever, how we want to do, we understand what that impact is and how that goes. And having those numbers. I went back and watched the meeting and read more about this whole not approving the deputies, and I just get more upset every time I research it and look at it. We've been let down by our representative on that one. Going back through, the 800K owed to the general fund from the water debt. Are there benefits and or penalties for leaving that where it is? What are the?
They're on a regular payment plan, and Wendy is more familiar with it than I am. The project to build the storage tank on the hill,
Mhm.
the budget went sideways, and so they needed a loan.
If I may add, it was more than that. It was the storage tank on the hill, the pipes up to the storage tank on the hill, because they needed new ones. And it was a complete redo of 4th Street. That's why when we first got here, 4th Street was a decent street in town, because they tore up the old 4th Street and put in the new, as the previous city manager said, it's the backbone of our water system, of our distribution system. The main line from the tanks go down 4th Street. So, and that was a $10 million bond, or loan, excuse me, not bond. It was a $10 million loan, I believe. I'm not absolutely certain on that figure. I would suggest paying off maybe half of that, but I would like to see, and you and I have talked about it, and unfortunately, the loan had a no repayment clause until 2025, I believe, and that's only 6.5 months away, no, 6 months away.
Yeah, so my main question is the money more useful being collected in payments like it is, or us getting it all at once?
Well, wait, we can refinance that high interest rate and save a couple $100,000 a year on money to the bank, which is wasted as far as I'm concerned. We don't get any use out of that. And refinance into a lower 2.5% loan from USDA. So that's a way to save and make money at the same time.
So Wendy, I don't know, if you could help us out here.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So, this loan resulted as a cost overrun on the water sewer infrastructure project, I believe in 2010. And, it was close to $2 million that overrun in order to, since the general fund paid out the money for it, we created an interfund loan. So it's not with the bank, and we split it between the water and sewer funds. The interest rate's at 1.5%, is for 29 years. The general fund receives roughly $80,000 annually in fund balance transfers from the water fund and the sewer fund. We were looking at accelerating the water fund enterprise debt balance by paying it back to the general fund in advance to allow the general fund to have more unrestricted reserves to use for other purposes.
Yep, so that's a good background. My question still is like, is it doing us more good with the current setup, or to call it back like you're saying?
It sounds like the loss would be the 1.5% interest over so many years, right? Are we making, we could be investing that and getting a better return if we did go to a bank.
That's my ask. And so understanding that, like, if we can invest it better ourselves on the general fund side, I'd be in favor of doing that. Not in favor of having it just to spend more, but if we can invest it better on the one side than the other, if we can eclipse that 1.5, cool, we should do that. If not, keep earning money. That was that one. With respect to the recreation, I think we're doing great things and you know, having more events and thinking great about how to, you know, maximize and create more efficiencies there. This has come up in a couple different meetings. I just cannot understand why we need another person. I understand that we currently don't have full coverage for all events and things. I like the idea of trying to cover that through volunteers and things like that. I don't think the answer is taking on another salary, even in part and for a part-time. That's just my view on that. It would take great explanation with a lot of immediate real-time benefits for me to vote positively on that. The new wording on the establish a solicitation process. Good with that explanation. I think that's a great thing to do. It also will, you know, it'll be a decreased burden on you to be getting requests all at one time and in one way instead of randomly throughout the year.
It never felt equitable to me.
Yeah.
It's a fair playing field. It's a level field for everyone.
Yep. Plan ahead, get it all in by a date
Right.
for the year. Done.
And didn't we talk about an ad hoc for that
Right,
also?
right. I left that word out.
By the council, an ad hoc to look at
Review the applications.
to review the application.
I think that's as far as we got so far, right? No slides. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
I like, everything's been answered for me so far. I like the nonprofit grant program. It's really uncomfortable sitting here and having somebody show up out of, you know, the blue and ask for money, and you're like, what, you know, who are you? And said, so it would be great to have that. And I would like to request that the nonprofits from the city limits of the city of San Bautista are the first choice.
Agreed.
first choice. And if 5 of them come asking for $10,000 and then we get a 4th one coming from, I don't know, or I mean, if 6th one coming from, well, sorry, you're out. We seem like we're a small city. We're so small. We're only 2,000 people. We're lucky as heck to have some type of surplus, but we can't continue to be giving money to agencies outside of our city limits when they can go, go to Monterey County and ask for help, or go to somebody else. But I like that. And it is very fit. To me, it seems very fair. And people don't leave here all angry and, it's a pretty, confused. So, yep. And, the tax thing, what a great find, wait, good. Even if we don't end up with anything, any more of it, I mean, it's stuff like that's out there. And I mean, how many other, pardon my language, are we getting screwed over on? Yeah. And heck, if we come to find out, since whenever they started this, I just tried looking it up, but it didn't pop up.
The Bradley Burns.
The Bradley Burns, whenever they started, we should be getting retroactive.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest to ask that question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care about the interest, just retroactive. You get what you can get, right? But yeah, that's just, gosh, and I've heard people say this in town that had been on prior councils and things that say, yeah, for some reason, we never thought we were getting enough. We always thought that, we weren't getting quite enough. And it, but now I think we've got a team that's going to be able to find that, and
Yeah.
Wendy, get your sword and your shield out and start slashing.
You don't know, but you don't know.
Yeah, but that's all I got. Looking forward to the rest of this.
Okay, great. We'll go to the capital improvement slides. And I see that Doug has joined us and Doug Pike and Charlie's on the call now. All right.
Yeah, Don, we're standing by.
Okay, yeah, I have a slide on each of the categories. The streets and sidewalks, those funds have been replenished now over 2.5 years, so we're ready to start out with our pavement management plan. Last time we did this with about 1.7 million. I think Jerry was just coming on board then. I think we covered 11 different streets and had a big impact. So I look forward to doing that with this $2 million allotment that we have. The capital improvements for the utilities start, of course, with the force main that's under construction and will be until 2026. We're looking at lift stations, 2 lift stations, the Rancho Vista lift station and the Diaz lift station out on San Juan Hollister Road. They need massive, significant improvements. We have the microbial system that will take the nitrates out of well 6 and bring that back online. And Doug and team, if you want to talk about the status of microbial, that would be great. And then, as you know, we're working with the new acting director of the water district to import our drinking water. So those are all now appearing in our capital improvement budget. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jerry or Doug, on these topics?
Jerry, you go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay, yeah.
So when is microbial going out to bid? Do we know?
It's getting closer, and I think we're looking at the earliest is going to be late this month.
Okay, awesome. Okay. All right, then we'll keep going.
Yeah, the bid for that's for all of the infrastructure and SCADA communication to hook that up into our system.
That's correct.
Okay, and then I just wanted to say thanks, Jerry, for not leaving when you arrived for the first sidewalk project.
Happy to be here.
Okay, and looking at parks projects, I know Abbey Ballpark Fields been on this list for too long. I'm fully aware of the sensitivity around that project. So that's one that Jerry and I are gonna try and focus on even before the July 1st, of course. I've been working to find an expert on the lights. Luck Park will be continued, of course. The Historical Society is looking forward to working with us and fixing up the gas station. We have the volunteer from the Copperleaf neighborhood helping us, the architect. So that project is moving forward. And then I was asked and reminded to make sure that the track and field contribution, we set aside $50,000 for that. And it's been postponed because of the seismic upgrades that ends our school. So, I'm sorry, ends our high school. Right. This would be the benefit of having a 5-year capital improvement plan, because we can show this off 3-4 years from now. And that placeholder will be held. So that's what that Jerry and Doug and I are working on, is to get you a 5-year plan. That's what Andy recommended from CB.
That's great.
Yeah. And then facilities, we had a request, a recommendation for HVAC in the council chambers.
What's that thing right there? Sorry, Liz.
That's an
Sorry.
air purifier.
I thought it was a shredder. It's not a paper shredder. We have talked about a kennel, and now we've talked more about having a kennel out at well 6, and connected up to the sewer system out there. And that way, if we do have barking dogs, it's more of a transfer station. So as we come across a stray animal or perhaps a rabid animal that needs to be quarantined, we have a place to put it. We currently don't have a kennel, and that was in this current budget, so we're just carrying this forward. But we've got some better eyes on it now, and Roy's been helping us with that design.
Going page by page or not?
Oh, I
No, I don't know. It's a question or category by category.
Feel better about that.
Yeah,
If you feel better about that, not forgetting something as it pops up, sure.
yeah.
Before page 10, there's enough to chew on in this stuff.
Okay.
There's no bombs on page 10.
Which one's page 10? Oh, that's next?
Oh, look, another
So-
rack.
You have been working with animal control with Hollister, right? Have we come to any agreements?
You want to update the council, Roy?
Take the stage.
He's like,
There's nobody else.
he's like, hey, man, Jerry got a pass, I get a pass.
No, good afternoon. We ended up talking to the city of Hollister, the police chief and their manager from animal control. They will help in training our new code enforcement officer. We're still in talks about them actually providing services to us. So the last talk that we had with them was more about training our staff and kind of consulting us on putting together kennels. They did not want to commit to any type of contract when our first talks. So we're going back and forth with them.
The police chief loves to design dog kennels. He's got this down. I think he's gonna retire and build dog kennels. No, after the meeting, I was frustrated and I shared my frustration with David, the city manager in Hollister. And he's all, no, I asked for a proposal. So he did ask the chief and the sergeant to come up with a proposal for us, which is more than we've had in the past. So,
For them to actually perform those duties?
yes. And I would say when we had the public safety committee and we met on each of these different topics, the sergeant at the time said that she wouldn't send an animal control officer by themselves here, alone in a truck. So that the city would have to pay for 2 animal control officers, and we need like 0.2 animal control officers.
Well, it's on
And we were at,
a whole basis.
and the intergovernmental committee asked for a report on animal control services. And at that meeting, both the chief and the city manager shared with me that we should be able to work something out with the county's contract to get a set number of hours, or at least a cost per hour if we have an emergency. Because right now it's pretty sad. We drive them around in the back of the cruiser. That's like our kennel right now, right? Right. And it can be sad, if not inhumane, potentially.
Interject real quick on that. I mean, one, for being proactive, since we have flock cameras, and I feel like our little town's a dumping ground for stray dogs, especially and cats. can we not start finding people that don't license their dogs? Or if we see someone dumping a dog, a big dog, or like I heard there was a couple tied up to a fence post or the cyclone fence at the ballpark. Like, I mean, we should be able to just, be a city there's no tolerance in this. I mean, we've got a volunteer out at Rancho Vista that's pouring all of her energy, sweat equity and money rescuing cats and fixing cats, but I also know that there's dogs too. And if we can be, a little bit more proactive in finding people if we see this stuff occurring. And I think it should be a county jurisdiction. Hollister seems to be sort of difficult to sort of negotiate with these days. We're part of the county.
The county has no animal control at all and doesn't want to, and they're laying it all on Hollister, and that's why Hollister's all upset.
It's a state mandate. I mean, there's mandates and things that we can just hold people accountable to.
Well, you're absolutely right, Councilmember.
Yeah.
I was the deputy director in Ventura County Animal Control there for a while because the small city I worked for had a contract with them. So I left that city and started working for animal control, and it's all about public health. It's all about controlling rabies.
Right.
And so, and that,
Mandates.
and then that's the mandate that the county is.
Thank you.
Still, the county has no animal control at all. Everything's through Hollister, and they're getting,
Everybody, yeah, we all know that. It's,
everybody's getting, not everybody, but Hollister's getting upset about it, just like they are with the fire, and I'm afraid they're gonna take it out on us.
Stop growing.
well, they've been mandated to grow, so
Yeah.
start electing people that don't mandate. I'm blown away that the county doesn't have animal control still to this day, but it is what it is. Yes, on the HVAC system for City Hall. So we can take those window air conditioners out and actually have a proper heater in here too. I always worry. Well, but those wall heaters, they worry me.
1940s.
God, I would say before that.
Mhm.
How much on the kennel, I'm all for that because there are times that we can't get a pet to a kennel. Only makes it kind of it worries me. That's way out there and out of sight, out of mind, and we put a dog in there and nobody takes, the time to take care of it, maybe have some things in like auto watering and, and maybe like a camera.
A camera, yeah, I was
The
thinking
camera
that
up there.
too.
And even little animals out there would be pretty vulnerable to, I had a coyote run through my backyard a month ago, which was just freaked my dog out. Yeah, pretty interesting, huh?
And your dog's probably bigger than the coyote.
Yeah, well, now if I say coyote, she freaks out.
Bring Nico over. he'll take it.
Yeah. That would be my own concern. And you're right. I didn't witness. I was right behind one of the dogs getting dumped. And it was somebody from out of town. They just came in and they dumped it, and poor thing. It's not the animal's fault. And Hollister Animal Control they're overflowing. I know they're having an event. I think it's this weekend, an adoption event. So hopefully a lot of those get adopted. It just breaks my heart to see pets just get left. There's a Great Pyrenees up in the San Juan Canyon, right at the mouth of the canyon. Some people moved out and they just dumped him, and nobody can catch him. He doesn't want to get near anybody. He's a livestock protector, so he's been hit by a car. I think Adam told him he's been hit a couple times. He's definitely wounded, but we can't catch him. So that should be a county thing. So should deputy sheriffs.
So we're looking at doubling the budget and bringing it up to 50 grand this year.
Yeah, that is the humane thing, right? Abbey Park, thanks. Even if we can't even get lights going, if we just at least get the ball rolling, and maybe, it needs some repairs big time. And our public works guys, they had an attempt at repairing some stuff, but I mean, we need to get a contractor in here, and the snack shack and
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's a super cool place. It's a baseball player. It's America's pastime, for crying out loud, right? Right?
Rotary's project. We can talk to Rotary about that. Rotary does work with area. I don't remember what the area is, but they go between different Rotaries to do projects for cities. So we could suggest that Rotary do Abbey Park.
As long as the young guys work on it. I bet even the clampers would help with that too.
Like the Ruby Park was totally redone by volunteers.
Yeah, the fire department laid all the sod.
Yep.
Yeah,
Military did the whole fence.
yeah. So that was
Yeah.
so I mean, that's out there. That's good. I mean, it's good. We're still talking about our ballpark. It's a gem. When you see aerial views of this town, it's such a small town, and like the biggest thing is right in the dead center of town. That's a baseball park. That's
How cool is
good
it?
stuff. You gotta admit, that's good stuff. No, there's no Yankee logos ever gonna be out there. Never. We didn't even have Yankees in Little League.
I hate to know if they had Dodgers.
I'll deliver you a broom.
I don't know. I don't think we did. Giants, Marlins, Angels. But before, when I was a kid, it was the Tampa. Before it was just colors. It was the greens, the blues, the blacks, and the reds. Yeah. And then the peewees were the maroons and the yellows. Pretty simple uniforms too. They were like
It
wool.
works.
The rare occasion it was warm out there. Man, we were sweating. And the 5-year capital improvement plan is awesome. It's the first time I think I've heard City Hall talk about it. I know the volunteer fire department, we had a 7-year improvement plan for stuff. Because things sneak up on you and you'll be ahead of the game. So that's awesome. And that's all I have. Moving right along.
You forgot about me.
Oh, well, you said Yankees and it just went right over. Go ahead.
I got a broom for you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can we get a refresher on the schedule for the force main stuff within the city?
Yes,
Because they kind of took a summer vacation.
They marked it out on the street, but they haven't done anything else.
They're punching through
Jerry-
Valley right now.
Jerry's still on the call. I understood they were supposed to start the first week in June.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So I was going to, starting tomorrow, I was going to have door hangers made to notify the Rancho Vista neighborhood, because it looks like the middle of the 10th, so the middle of next week, they may start digging pits in Rancho Vista, the area, and taking advantage of the pipe that was stationed there to start installing in the Rancho Vista neighborhood. It may start the 10th. They're waiting on a crew that's finishing up another job in Southern Cal, and they were scheduled to finish up this week and then head up here to begin that work through SCI. So I want to get notices out to the neighborhood to let them know that work is about to commence.
Awesome. Where do we stand on their priority list in terms of issuing crews or issuing work to crews?
We're a main priority. What it is we need additional crews because they don't want to stop the work that they're doing outside of the city limits, because they're heading towards Hollister now. And I think it's about 5 miles has been completed, if I'm not mistaken. So
5.2.
Yeah, 5.2 miles. So they want to continue, council member, and then obviously not disrupt that movement that's going currently.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I think that was it. And then I assume that when we start I remember you had a great street and sidewalk plan set out. Is there a refresher on the horizon in terms of so that we can start getting information out to people so they are reminded which streets are next and what's going on?
Yeah, we're not quite at that point yet, but.
Okay, it might be prudent to start that information dissemination part early, so that when we start the work, there isn't the,
Pushback.
what about this street? It was, hey, here's the next part of the plan.
Changing.
Yeah, here's the next part of the, we won't, you know, we have a plan. It was, from my recollection, I remember it being very well thought out in
Absolutely.
terms of you going after the, you know, the high percentages and
Mhm.
getting the most out of our money. And so if we continue that, just making people aware, started information, like, even if it's just a blurb and and something that goes out early, so that people have time to digest that information again before we start the work.
Did you hear that, guys?
We did. And just if I may just quickly add, we're looking at CPI scores now, as it relates to the outliers.
The payment index.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. To check scores. Obviously I have some targeted favorites that I'll refrain from mentioning right now, but there are several that weren't picked up last time that I want to continue with.
Fifth Street.
Fifth Street, yeah, Mission Street. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, we're working on that now, council member.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Those are all the questions I have here.
Oh, one more, on the lift stations, new ones, or we rebuilding them?
Rebuilding the lift stations themselves. Rancho Vista was never completed correctly.
Yeah.
So we got an estimate from Paul Greenway, M&S. And it was like $250,000 for the emergency generator and the whole deal. And then Doug has some fresh ideas. So I sent that old plan to them. It's about 3 years old now. To look at Rancho Vista. I mean, it's so poorly put together that the curb cut for the truck isn't in alignment with the well. It's like 5 feet to the west of it. It needs a fence around. It needs to be secure. So it's got a couple things. We have to clean that one every day. That's our newest one, and it's our most labor intensive.
And the DS one's probably pretty old.
The DS one, we bought new and bigger pumps for it, but we need to redo all the electrical components.
Okay.
So that's a project that we started to do, and then when we found out we had all this other work to do, we didn't finish it.
Yeah. I was just thinking on the whole system, if there's a one size fits all for all three of them, and that way,
All the same pumps.
all the same pumps, all the same parts, all that stuff. Sure make things a lot easier.
Yeah, it was one of the DS pumps that we used in emergency during the storm.
Oh,
And plugged in and kept us alive at the head.
okay, thank you. Anything else?
One more. We are still in communication with, Revis's office on parks.
Yes, they just reached out to us today. They're trying to set up a meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
I
Thank
want
you.
to say Caitlin, the fellow we met in Sacramento. Yeah, they just reached out to us today because there is some kind of park bond measure the state's floating around.
The speakers.
Yeah, the speaker's house. Yeah.
Speakers, yeah. Good, that was huge. That perked us all up. Yeah. Anything else before we move on? Next page.
Equipment. Yes, this will be a fun conversation. Sorry for the typo. This is Jerry's baby. No. We've been working on it together. Wendy, very wisely has been packing a little bit of money aside for the last several years. And so we have a pretty good fund balance for our vehicle replacement fund. And we're also talking with Chief Dover about leasing a fire engine. So between the two of them, we're hoping to set 250,000 aside for our fleet electrification project. And Jerry's identified 4 vehicles. And then he is working with Nick and with our fleet folks to make these decisions. Added a second community service enforcement vehicle was a consideration because when we set $200,000 aside for the security cameras, which are online, the security cameras are working? Missing 2? Okay, almost online. We only spent 90,000 of the $200,000 budget. So Roy and I were talking about using some of the savings from that CIP to buy a vehicle for the enforcement staff. So we'd have a pool car as well as a second vehicle, getting rid of the old cruiser here. And then I'm just guessing 100,000 for a 1-year payment on a fire engine lease. But we need to get it ordered because they take 18 months to 2 years, I guess, to get the fire engine. Our fire engine is doing fine, but it should be retired. In most departments, it would be retired for its age and number of miles. So you know, Mayor. Jerry, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, give us the 3 trucks and the pool car.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we're looking at currently some hybrid models for the pickup trucks, specifically the Ford Maverick. And the wonderful thing about the Ford Maverick is, as it relates to our transition and moving over to electrified vehicles, believe it or not, the hybrids from current years up through 2035, the state allows hybrid vehicles, gas electric hybrids, to be counted as full EVs as it relates to the transition plan and the goals. So we were looking at 2 Mavericks, which are the little mid-sized pickups. They replaced the old Ford Rangers, for those of you that are as old as I am. And so those are kind of like a little mini pickup, mid-size. And then we were looking at a Ford Lightning, a full-size Ford Lightning. And then we were also talking about a utility vehicle like a Gator with a tilt bed, and that would be more for for driving around town and using it for, say, any kind of landscaping work or any kind of work that's small handyman type work, like someone like Menno would be doing on a regular basis, and kind of eliminate a big pickup, altogether. The current pricing I have for the bundle, it would be approximately 28,000 for each of the Mavericks, for a total of 56,000. A Gator's anywhere between 14 and 17,000, and a Ford Lightning goes for 70,000. So those 4 vehicles combined is 143K. And again, these are just rough estimates at the moment until we want to pull the trigger and move forward.
Okay, any questions on those? I have a few.
Thank you. I think those are good recommendations. The only thing I would not quibble with, but I would just think 2 Gators, because we have 6 people on Public Works, and I think all of them drive a truck. Anyway, I was thinking 2 Gators and maybe 2 Mavericks. Personally, I like to wait a while on the full-sized electric truck, because I think they're going to drop in price in the next couple of years. I mean, we could do better fiscally by waiting a while, but that's just my conjecture. Thank you.
Thank you for the input.
Anything, Leslie? The vehicles?
Oh, Mayor Friels, if I could just add in something I left out. Since we're talking about these hybrids, we also need to think about electrification for the infrastructure. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but Dawn and I worked on a grant where we received 14,000 in funding from 3CE to add a charging station, which we want to move forward with that and then add that one to the yard. But we were thinking, and again, this is up for the excuse me, for the council to decide. We were thinking of adding a second one. So with any residual funds we might have, we start building our infrastructure for the fleet as well. That's kind of our plan.
And Jerry, I had mentioned, at least I considered of the 2 that the one would be public and for city use here at City Hall, but the public would have access to it. And then the one at the yard would be strictly just private use.
Correct.
So the second one would be at City Hall.
Yeah.
And the Gator would be used, sorry, I'm looking up what these all look like. You're right, we got it in the pretty color. The Gator would be used for just running back and forth around the city.
Well, it's
notices, landscaping.
Yeah, it's like a utility vehicle, right? It's not quite a car. It's kind of like an oversized golf cart with utility features.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we'd use that for that purpose.
And So why 3 big vehicles then?
I don't know if you know Nick, but he's a big guy. So he has a little bit of a challenge getting into a full size, but in all seriousness, a bigger bed is always helpful in some instances. So we thought since we have some existing vehicles that are far past their end of life, maybe one full size as a trade-off to turn in two full size that need to go, and then get 2 small ones, 2 mid-size in between. That was the thought behind it.
Right, so my question again is why 2 of the Mavericks
Just one.
instead of, yeah, having just one and one full size and going with more Gators?
And again, that's a good point. I went that route because I know that we're going to have other existing vehicles based on some feedback I've received from Paul, that other existing full-size pickups are going to be going out as well. You know, he's having challenges with keeping them on the road and meeting smog requirements, etc. So I thought 2 mid-size, 1 Gator. But again, I'm open to feedback and ultimately to the council's decision.
One full size well, I guess we drive the tractor through town.
Yes, we do.
One full size to maybe even bring the generator or a portable generator around, but having one smaller. I mean, I'm a full size kind of a girl myself. I have a 2500 HD Allison transmission. So but I just wasn't sure the need for 3 big vehicles, for 3 trucks.
3 trucks.
Yeah. And so where does the carpool car come in?
So the carpool car falls under, actually would fall under more of the enforcement side, under Roy's side. But since we're moving the fleet in a specific direction, we'd have something like a Volt or something along those lines. And again, I throw Volt out there on my own as a pool car that we could use for the community service and also as a pool car for the staff.
Right, trips to Hollister and that kind of thing.
Isn't that a Chevy?
Yeah,
Yes.
Chevy Volt. Or
No, it is. I'm just, he's specking out Fords and he goes with a Chevy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I tow my Chevy race car to the track with my Ford, so.
If you must. Okay, yeah, just food for thought for justification of 3 trucks as opposed to 2 trucks and maybe smaller runaround Gatory kind of things.
Very good.
I might add that the pricing for EV cars are dropping like a rock. You can get brand new Teslas for $33,000 and a Bolt's only 29, and at that point I'd go the Tesla. $4,000 difference. You know, and the other cars are dropping too. I know we'd go out to bid or something like that. So it's that they are, if you're in the market for an EV, now's the time because they're dropping like a rock, the prices.
Why is that?
Too many of them.
Mhm.
Supply and demand.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
So I had the questions about, I don't know anything about Gators, but I do know about small trucks, Ford Rangers. I'm in your age group, Jerry. So Ford Broncos, all that stuff. But anyway, so the one pull car, I know that we currently have a large SUV, the Ford, for the current code enforcement. Is it possible that you're gonna turn that in and get maybe 2 small pull cars? Is that being considered as a trade-in?
I was coordinating with Roy, and that, yes, that was in conversation that we may want to get rid of that SUV. I think, and I know Roy's there, he may be better to speak to this, but based on our conversation, the understanding is we don't want an intimidating vehicle like that necessarily driving around, you know, with the cage in the back, etc.
Right.
Where it's more of a community service centric vehicle. So But that's a great option is, yeah, if we were to turn that in and whatever, we could maybe get that on a quick sale, we might be able to get a second community service vehicle / pool car as well.
Yeah, I think you could get 2 for 1 with that big old car. It looks like a regular law enforcement kind of sheriffy kind of car. Yeah. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. But I think the gators sound kind of cool as long as when it's rainy season, the guys that are in it are protected from the elements.
Well, and you know, that's a great point. And just so you know that they do come with all the bells and whistles, heating, air conditioning, all that. They're not always
Wow.
yeah, they're not always just open. So, but
Even-
they do I will caution you that they do get into the range of a Maverick when we get to that point. They start to get into the mid-20s at the price point with all the bells and whistles.
Well, they deserve it. They're hard workers. They're out there doing all that stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're quite
I
welcome.
don't think any of the air conditioners work in the ones now anyway.
That's why we need to move them out.
Oh, one last thing. Can we get a new color instead of school bus yellow?
Oh. We usually go with the white, right? The off-white, yeah.
Lime green,
And
white.
the city seal on the door, right?
And the city seal on the door.
A full city seal.
EJ, you're up.
So did Roy want to talk though about the trade-in for the vehicle? Did you have your ideas?
Like I said, he and I had a conversation. I don't know if Roy's is
I
inclined.
just stepped up, Jerry. but
Okay, very good. Thank you, Roy.
I have not priced it out. I know it's a very old patrol vehicle. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. Nor have I checked the miles on it, but I can see what the offer would be.
Lucky to get 5,000.
Yeah,
We'll see.
something, I guess.
It'll save a lot on gas.
Yes, it will.
And I am looking at a small truck, less enforcement looking type, with maybe just an orange light when they're out there and just flashing with the word code enforcement on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the council's benefit, Jerry verified what the latest deadlines are. A zero emission vehicle milestone options, some flexibility until January 1, 2030. Near zero emission vehicle flexibility until model year 2035 and earlier. Vehicles are counted the same as zero emission vehicles for compliance purposes. And then early zero emission vehicle purchases, any zero emission vehicle purchase acquired before the compliance deadlines or more than required amounts count towards future purchase requirements. So I know that didn't make anything more clear. Because it's state law, but it does at least inform us that we have until 2030 and 2035 to finish our conversion. It was supposed to be this next year, right? So January this year. So it's all been pushed out and we're in good comfort zone.
So my first question is, it sounds like we're talking in the range between 4 and 5 vehicles or 5 and 6.
4 and 5 was my last count.
Okay, between 4 and 5 vehicles. Has there been an analysis done of the kind of miles capacity needed?
No, that's a good point. I don't know, Jerry, have you heard, has Nick shared with you any idea on that?
No, we were in the process of beginning that. Again, that's one of the reasons for electric vehicles would be a great option for our city, because again, we're a relatively small city. But we haven't finished that count. I believe it was just around 12,000 was what my initial numbers looked like. But I can get you that information, council member.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that. I'm in some, no, not in a year, like on a weekly or daily,
Oh,
what that charging frequency would look like.
How many times it charges?
Yeah,
Okay. And how much?
like if they had to charge, if they couldn't get through a shift on a charge, that's obvious no-go, right? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't work. But if, hey, they're charging that thing once a week because of their frequency, that starts looking real good. And then super curious and interested in what the charging infrastructure would look like and how we do that. Obviously in support of that and how we could get those upgrades to town. And the only other thing I would offer is my opinions and expertise in trying to help select vehicles if possible. if that's appropriate.
Absolutely. A resident expert is always helpful.
Yeah.
I lived the EV design life for a while. Much to Scott's chagrin.
We would welcome you on board.
Like I said, I own a golf cart also.
Me too. You want to race golf carts?
Yeah, sure. You done?
Yep.
Good. A few things I'm super concerned about. We do need another large, we need a big pickup. We're gonna lose, I think, 3 of them because they're junk. They need to go before somebody gets hurt or, they break down on somebody driving across the highway or whatever. We need something to be able to tow the generator. And not only the generator, but the sewer cleaner.
Yeah,
I mean,
the back.
So the big shop vac jobber doober, yeah, those are super heavy. You'll tear up a small pickup on those things. We need that. We can't rely on that dump truck to do that every time, because that dump truck is one of our greatest assets that we have right now. It's great. It can do it and it can tow them. But if we use it every time that we need to tow that trailer or whatever, we're going to wear out that dump truck. And we put a lot of money into it, and people in the community donated a ton of money for that F-550 buildup. Let's don't kill it. It's super valuable to us. I would be totally in favor of the Ford Lightning if they were even making them. Like, went to the Ford website and they don't even have a price for them. And I've read on Forbes and a couple others that said that they're stopping that line because they're losing way too much money on it. If it worked, it'd be great. We don't have the charging stations for them. So we're going to get these. So we're going to get, let's say we get one of these electric trucks, but we won't have any way to charge it because we don't have a charger. We have the little one at the ballpark. I don't know how long it has to sit there. That concerns me. The Mavericks, in order to have that pickup with a tow capacity of at least 4,000 pounds, it has to be the EcoBoost motor. It can't be the hybrid motor, and it has to be all-wheel drive. So the hybrid 2-wheel drive won't even be able to tow its own weight.
Correct.
I'm all for one of those. It's 4,000. All wheels 4,000 with the EcoBoost. I'm all for having one of those. I'm all for having one of those for code enforcement. I was really hoping that the pool car would be a standalone pool car and not being, jobbed out to everybody, because, to be perfectly honest, I drove my wife's car all the way to, Sacramento and back, and we shouldn't have never had to do that. We should have drove the pool car. And if code enforcement is using the pool car, then we're kind of out on that one. So just, we need to replace a couple pickups more than sooner than later. I'm good with the utility cart, but like Jerry says, I price these things out. Once you get to the point where they're enclosed and they've got some type of environmental control, like heat or air condition, you're getting to the point where you're going to be spending the same amount of money for a Ford pickup. Oh, and Jerry, they still do make Ford Rangers. They're making them again.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm, what's that? Yeah, the Raptor Ranger. Don't even get me started. A 4-door hot rod. That's like all these Dodges running around here making noise. Yeah, we really need to think about that. Even if we got the Mavericks, which are hybrids, and we got the hybrid packages, we don't need a charging station for them. So I mean, it's something good to have. So at least let's get a couple pickups for these guys. I was looking at the little the 1/2 ton with the utility box on it. They're using duct tape to keep the doors closed on the utility boxes. I mean, come on. How'd you like to get up and go to work every day and like go, oh God, I gotta get in this piece of junk, and not even know if it's going to start. I have no problem with the pool vehicle being an electric vehicle. My only concern is, driving that thing all the way to Sacramento and worrying about where's my charging station, and if I find the charging station, then how long am I gonna sit there? And you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know, what's the range on your, just curious, you enlighten me, what's the range on 400 miles? Okay, so then we have, but there was not a charging station or a hotel,
There, I drove to Sacramento when I went there.
so we'd have to find one.
I went all the way there and back without charging.
Yeah,
The hotel we stayed at when we went the year I went
Mhm.
had like 30 chargers.
Okay.
But all around Sacramento, there's.
oh, I have no doubt they're everywhere, yeah.
really,
yeah, you
really
probably can't
close.
swing a
It
dead
was-
cat.
It was not a concern. There's plenty from here to there. Like I said, if people are curious and interested, I have vehicles in both of the North American standard charging and the J 1775 or 1772 standard. I can talk all the way through it.
I know some of it, and we've talked about it, yeah, because we would have to have some way on the 240 leg. Now, do we need 3-pole or do we need 2-pole? Is it
You need 240 and 50 amps,
and 50 amps?
40 to 50 amps.
So if we get that pool vehicle and it's electric, we're gonna have to get at least a charger for it. I don't know how much actually mean. How much does 2 charging stations going to cost?
Right now, I'm looking anywhere between 14 and 18,000 per charger.
Per charging, say, and that's the charger, the PG&E hookup, all that stuff.
Correct.
And there are incentive programs out there, the air quality control district.
Sure.
And
Well,
3C.
The electrical's the lion's share of that.
Yeah, I don't see, well, 3CE or whatever they're called, they told us we were getting $150,000. We never got anywhere near that. So, until the money's in the bank, I'm kind of nervous about that. I just want to make sure that we're not out horsepowered and we're not outgunned. The floods really, that taxed all of our equipment. I'm so thankful that our pickups didn't fall apart on guys when they're out there doing all that work. As it is, our tractor's too small. So we definitely need a big a pickup, and just it doesn't even have to be extended cab, just the work. Jared, do they make a work truck version or a fleet truck, Ford in the F-250?
They do. I haven't priced it, but I know that they do because a friend of mine just picked one up. So
Yeah, and by the time we're supposed to have an all-electric fleet, if it ever even happens, they keep pushing it back, that F-250 is going to be worn out.
I think
That's 10 years.
And I think it costs more to strip it down. To have all the bells and whistles on it.
Yeah, well, you just well, no, they come. My pickup was considered a work truck and it came pretty basic. It took me a while to find it. Yeah.
the
And
XL is
yeah,
pretty big.
and I'm also curious about this whole bias towards the greatest pickup manufacturer in the world, General Motors, but just checking.
I don't have any stock in Ford, sir.
Yeah.
The Silverado was just released in EV.
Yeah, and it's
Bigger battery than the Ford.
It's a piece of junk.
Well,
There's no bed
that's-
to it.
There's no what?
There's no bed to it. There's a 4-foot bed, and in order to get 6 feet of bed, you have to drop the bulkhead into the behind the seats, and it's an exposed cab. So now you've got an electric vehicle and an exposed cab. I don't even know how it passed any of the state safety standards. It's a terrible vehicle, and it's not going to make it. We got a long ways to go before we start, dumping a ton of money. The cars, I get it. These cars are great. I'm super worried about us buying a bunch of super expensive vehicles and then they turn out to be turds.
Yeah.
Or sorry, it's part of my language. So that's just my concern. I have no problem with the Mavericks, but I know that the hybrid won't tow something that's too heavy.
Yeah,
Right.
the hybrids are V6 EcoBoosts.
Yeah, it has to be the EcoBoost with the all-wheel drive.
right.
Yeah, if you want tow capacity, you go with the EVs. You get all the torque, not a lot of range, but range is not our issue.
But length of time is, so I mean,
We can get into the details, but
Yeah.
we're in the weeds. You're talking weeks of use before charge within the city limits, even with
yeah,
tow.
well, but we don't have a charger for it
Today.
today. And how far out is PG&E? I mean, PG&E is way out. I mean, Fresno County just approved 6 months ago for people to use generators in their homes so they can move in because their projects are so far backlogged. Yeah, can you believe that? So, just food for thought. I hate to kick this thing down the road. farther and farther and farther and watch our fleet just fall apart on these guys. So, you know, I'm all for getting some new rigs. And I would really appreciate the pull car being just a standalone pull car, because I would no doubt staff and one of us would probably use it at least 4 days a week.
Oh, yeah, back and forth to the post office.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
wow.
little things.
Yeah.
And the pickup, the Maverick is a great idea for the code enforcement, because then you can put barricades in the back and all that kind of stuff, and it's a pickup and it's a nice, friendly looking little truck.
Kennel.
Yeah, the kennel, the pooches. And white is just, that's the cheapest.
Yeah.
That's like the starter. Yeah, so it's crazy to pay for like blue. It's another $3,000 or something. So.
Just a question, is there a possibility of going for more cash from 3CE? I mean, why did we only get Mr. I'm on the board?
I don't know. They push out as much cash as they can. We have, the state of California is not 3CE's friend either. They have so many demands on what's called resource adequacy, which is nothing but an insurance policy that does nothing for you and I. And nothing for 3CE, and sucks up a lot of money. There's only, I think only 8% of the 3CE budget is for programs, and it falls under programs. The 85% of the money is for purchasing power, you know, or maybe even 88%, somewhere in that range, and there's 4% for administration. So there's not, it's not a, and we're still 18% cheaper than PG&E. So, you know,
It's just disconcerting that we went for so much and got so little.
And at the same time, Carmel gets a brand new electric street sweeper.
that was Capitola.
Oh, that was
And
Capitola.
the Capitola mayor is vice chairperson, so maybe that's why.
Oh, yeah, and Jaime, the city manager.
Well, a little bit of,
So is there the opportunity to go back to them for more?
I don't know if it's an annual application, Jerry, do you remember?
You can apply all you want. The only limits are, you can only use it one time per budget cycle, and their budget cycles are yearly. Okay.
Yeah, it is annual in that sense.
So if we buy one charger this year and one charger next year from them, then we're fine. And so,
maybe,
for-
maybe. I mean,
Scott, let me tell you.
they left us, let me tell you, we were supposed to get $150,000 from them. You said,
I never
And-
said 150. I said,
Oh, you-
I said up to.
no, I'll spend hours pouring through the tapes just to prove you wrong on that.
Okay, but
Seriously,
but seriously, they will pay entirely for what's called a level 2 charger, a home charger. And you can buy them almost anywhere, including such strange places as Costco or Home Depot for about $700. As each Councilman Sabathia said, the real money is in the panel upgrade and the wiring, not the charger itself.
okay. Any more? Okay, done. Sorry. Keep going. Where are we? 12?
So we've already talked about streets and sidewalks.
Yep.
And utilities, okay, so that's a repeat. Okay, yeah, only 2 more slides. Just a quick review. Oh, did you need a break? I'm sorry. Well, okay. Just a quick review of special projects. We have in the budget now, an impact and fee study, which we didn't get to, about $35,000. The new, laws that the mayor cited a month or so ago, the new court decision is, for a city that didn't have that nexus study that showed to upgrade your sewer plant or whatever, justifies an impact sewer fee of X number of dollars. So that we're in dire need of updating, because this dates back to 2013. So we need to get a tighter, better nexus study for our fees. Removing homeless from the general fund, we have the permanent local housing allocation from the state HCD. And so we are already programmed to use some of that money for homeless services as our contribution to the county. So that's good news. That takes 10 grand out. We're not funding city gate studies this year. And I also am considering $40,000 for a sales tax analysis. and perhaps a feasibility study that comes with that. We'd have to price it out. I have no idea what that costs, but I'd like to reserve 40,000 for that. So that would be 90,000 of the 143. The public safety initiative, we talked about using that for cameras and then using the balance available for another enforcement vehicle. We've already covered that base. And then budgeting 40,000 for a second enforcement vehicle and retire the cruiser. I think we have to build the kennel before we retire the cruiser, because that's our kennel.
Yes.
So in summary, our general fund is balanced and stable. The enterprise funds are stronger this year than in the past. And we're looking for new revenue sources without growth. Sorry, there it is again, council member. Fee studies, sales tax analysis. Budget $90,000 from the general fund balance of 143, 50,000 for the nonprofit grants and 40,000 for the special sales tax study. And then add a fifth vehicle from the public safety initiative savings. So that's the summary of the changes since May 21st. And with the council's feedback, we'll bring back a budget, I think, ready for adoption. Are there other changes or other things you'd like to see? John, you had often something we haven't been able to do, Councilmember Freeman, is the climate action plan. And I've written to Dan Hernandez, a professor at CSUMB, to see if he could find a graduate student or staff to help us with that kind of project. Because we just haven't, we don't have the
Yeah, I know, we don't, I've been talking about it for a long time.
I know, so I haven't forgotten it. It's still out there, but Dan and I have had some conversations about working closely with his students on projects like that.
And what about the city of Hollister and the county? Do they have one yet? I know they were talking about.
Ariel Goodspeed, I thought, started one,
Uh-huh,
so I think they're working on one.
that we could piggyback off of.
Possibly, I haven't heard from them lately.
The
so-
answer is not really,
Not really.
not really, no.
So we
The
have to
city,
reinvent the wheel.
wait for a second, let me finish. The city of Hollister is doing a climate action plan within their brand new general plan.
Yeah, within their general.
Okay, so that's being done this year. The county is not doing anything at the present time. They're talking about it, but they haven't budgeted for it. It's gonna go through the integrated waste management department under Selena if it does. And Ariel will certainly help. But they're probably gonna hire outside consultants. And I didn't see it on I haven't looked at the county budget yet, to be honest, so. I doubt that it's gonna be there.
Does anybody have the definition of what a climate action plan is?
Yeah,
It's all based on reducing greenhouse gases.
yeah.
Whatever a city can do in its policies and in its future developments to reduce reliance on cars and other types of pollutants that they measure. in greenhouse gases.
Electrification and getting rid of these things and.
Yeah, I remember when natural gas was the savior of all humanity, but no, we're
Uh,
changing that again.
Electrification of your homes and getting rid of all natural gas.
Which is, like I
Over
said, in the
PG.
'70s, that was the savior to all of us because it was such a clean burning natural source. So I was just curious, but because I've heard a lot of different. Don't go into the whole C3E thing
No,
again.
it had nothing to do with
You promoted them enough.
What it does, what a climate action plan does, which has nothing to do with 3CE. They existed well before they were ever thought of. What it does is it gives people a set of tools to determine if you build here, how much more smog is put into the air. If we build here, how much less smog is put into the air. If we build 5,000 homes, how much more CO2 is added to the atmosphere? It's basically a lot of math, and it gives you tools to figure that stuff out so you can control pollution. I'm just saying, we might not need it because we are not the biggest polluters around, except for our cars. But I'm gonna tell you, eventually, every jurisdiction is gonna need a climate action plan. If you want to control growth, a climate action plan is one of the best friends you'll ever have.
Okay. You lost me with a lot of math. Thank you. Thank you for just getting my blood pressure up again. Anything else? Can we move on?
I have nothing else. That's my last one.
Are we done?
Yes.
Think, and well, we've got public comments and then
We
any,
have comments still on the last two pages.
I think were the last two pages not summaries?
didn't you just cover those?
No.
Summary?
Well,
Do you have any questions or comments then?
well, I guess we're talking about how we're short on revenue. But I remember that we had talked about something I didn't see on here was, it was generally spoken to about upgrading our fees. You did mention that in the,
Yes, I was on the next slide. The Nexus study for our impact fees.
Right. But also in there, what I really want to talk about, because we did spend a lot of times talking to Stacy about it. And she didn't like our terms about how we were gonna handle our vacancy. We said vacancy tax, but then she said that wasn't a friendly term. You have to take it to vote. So this is how we deal with, and also ties in with what's in the bigger document that we looked at. How you talked about economic development and we needed maybe personnel to handle that, which I don't really agree with that. We didn't really address that right now. There's a lot of specifics in this bigger document, and I think your slides are well, but they're all summarized and they really don't address what's in this packet, the 110 or 13 page budget thing. But so I don't hear in this or see in this about how we can recomp fees and address an inventory of vacant buildings downtown. And that's one thing that I think, we're just not doing that. And then the other issue is like how, I think you really need to listen to the business owners. I mean, they've been doing it. And I think bringing in a new person, I know that we are saving money by eliminating the assistant city manager / planner who had a director title, which cost us more money. And also in your packet, you're talking about an associate planner. So all those weren't really talked about, so I don't feel comfortable approving any kind of budget at this point where we really haven't talked anything, and I feel like we're rushing.
This is just discussion. There's no approval today.
Okay, so no approval, so this is
No,
yeah,
Discussion.
so we didn't discuss it though.
Discussion.
Yeah, we didn't discuss any of that, is what I'm also saying.
So I've summarized it in my personnel policies, which I handed out on the 21st. It includes the rec position going to full-time. It includes the part-time economic development position that City Gate recommended. And that's pretty much it. And it had a table in the back of it, which showed how we pretty much break even with just the one new part-time position overall, increasing library part-time from 2 to 3. So that was all in the May 21st, and happy to bring that back, and we can talk about it more on the 18th, and if that's fine. But that information is available to you.
Yeah, I did see that, and I was at the meeting, and so I'm just saying, so at this point, we're discussing it, but this is all coming back on June 18th with not having another discussion, a second round of it. It seems like that's going to be in the final report that's going to be for us to vote on. Maybe I'm not understanding the process.
We've got between now until the 18th to be able to, like the rest of us are going to do, cruise through that. And then if you have concerns, then we discuss it on the 18th. But we're knocking out some of the big ticket items type of thing. Just hashing those things out. So we all got this at the same time. And I don't even have a copy of that yet. So except I was on online, I read it. But yeah, we still have a lot of work.
Yeah.
As far as reading and underlining and question marks.
Right, and I think Jackie's biggest concern is that the 18th we're voting.
Yeah, we're
Well,
voting.
we could consider a special meeting on the 25th and meet on both days. That's possible to do that.
So have another discussion on the 18th and another discussion on the 25th and vote, as long as we get the budget approved before the 30th.
And I want to apologize, council member. Part of the problem is my son is competing in Anaheim on the 11th and my other son is graduating on Friday. So that
Yeah.
makes next week really hard for me. That's why I'm willing to meet as much as you want.
Yeah.
Between the 17th and the 30th, because you guys are being very gracious and helping me with my personal schedule, so appreciate that.
Understood. It's a lot, though, that we have to take responsibility for the community, I think.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
unlike last year. I mean, we
No,
had the
but-
same.
Community has not gone up. for
Yeah,
it.
but it is a hard decision. I mean, I take it, as we all take it
Oh,
seriously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree that the conversation with that we had with Citygate with the not doing the tax and doing the vacancy fees that were brought up that need to be discussed. I mean, it
Okay.
just looks, it's so sad to see our city like this.
We couldn't do the taxes. That was a Prop 218 thing, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
and it
that's,
was
that was-
easier and kinder, which I'm totally in favor for vacancy fees, but something needs to be done because we're, no matter how many events we have to bring folks in, their stores are either not open or vacant. And so to have that empty space, and I'm thrilled that Casa Rosa is working on their building again. And with the food truck ordinance discussions that we had recently, some of the food truck people, or at least one of the food truck vendors, owner operator, is interested in having a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And a component of the Casa Rosa was to have a restaurant underneath, and how cool would that be? For a building that's already vacant and that has been vacant for so long, to finally get the ball on.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then if he puts a restaurant component in that, that would be awesome. So having that and then the personnel, and even if it was a part-time economic development person working with our nonprofits. I don't know. Everybody else has economic development, and the board for the Economic Development Corporation, the EDC, is supposed to be meeting, and they still need 100,000 from the city of Hollister and 100,000 from the Board of Suits to move forward with that. So that whole thing that we went round and round and round on, the SEDS,
Mhm.
we have nobody to work on that with all of the projects that we put forth on it. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but we
now,
need
now you know why I was pushing on Chamber of Commerce. So just this, and that's another reason why I'm saying on the grant thing that we set up, we need to, I mean, because we keep paying up, like the fire district thing. We were the first ones to pay, right? And then Hollister, like how long ago? And then, I mean, we keep doing our part, and
and keep getting the back end of.
yeah, which is, Jackie and I know this, that's been common since 1869. So not that I was around then, but I'm super happy on one thing that we learned about the impact stuff, the court case and all that, because I knew we always had some type of fee schedule or explanation for it. But yeah, update, because then those are the little things we can keep,
Absolutely.
because that would include the fire department and parks and
Yes, am I right? Yeah.
all that. Yeah, so that's,
We should probably update, kind of have a tickler file, or we should probably update those Nexus fees
Anyway,
every 5, I was gonna say every 5 years. I think annually is too much work for the city.
well, you get
Too
a
much
cost
work
of
for you,
living.
but every 5 years, and it's been 11 since we've done it, so, it's well overdue.
well, we've had a few years where we've had some folks sleep at the wheel, so. And I'm not saying the council and some of the folks.
And also, I think, since we're talking about what we already have in place, is I think we really need to go after individuals that should be fined for certain code infractions, and we're not doing that either. I feel like we give people a lot of slack on that.
Roy and I are working hard on the city attorney to come up with a better way of doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
think
we
that's gonna
need,
change.
yeah, we need to enforce that, if you're like, oh geez, sorry, I didn't pull a permit, that's like the most common offense. Well, that's too bad, you didn't, so here's your fine.
And having a stop work instead of put it back to where it was until you get the permit.
Well, just anybody that, things like that. And then also, I think I did discuss about public nuisances, that just drag on for years and nobody gets fined, nobody takes care of the nuisance. Yeah, we need to really step it up on that. It's not being hard-nosed, it's just running a clean city and good governance. And then I was looking at the lease camera system. That's great. We have 100,000, 100K left. I was wondering, does that come with a policy and procedure manual? Or can we borrow that from another city so we don't have to pay a consultant a lot of money to develop that?
We
Because,
can develop our own, I believe, right? Yeah.
yeah, probably Roy can do that, right? Yeah.
What, for the flock cameras?
Yeah, because you have to have policies as who's looking at it and what are we doing with it?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I had collected a few samples back in the day.
Maybe we still get a lot of that 100K back in our pocket instead of paying someone to like maybe 75K to write something that probably Roy knows about.
My recollection on the vacancy, whatever we want to call it, is that we were waiting on something, a draft ordinance, so that we could discuss and approve, and that kind of.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head. You're right. I need to
Yeah,
get
that
back on
came,
top of my desk.
City gave us a couple of options to choose from.
So
Let's choose and vote.
let me bring that forward, yeah.
Yes. And
That could be an assignment for the city attorney.
it already was.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm remembering. We were supposed to review and we gave them the action to,
Yes.
so I'd love to be able to close that out. However, the verbiage ends up working out.
Yeah.
Take all the advices and, let's bring that back sooner than later so that we can enact it.
Is it, and that's probably a question for John, but that should be just in our wheelhouse, right? We shouldn't have to go through the planning commission for something like that. Okay.
No, you don't need planning commission.
And I'm not downplaying our vacancy because we do have vacancy, but well, we got Shauna and I were heading up the mountains and we got rerouted through some road construction. We got rerouted through downtown Gustine, which is in Merced County. And it was sad. The town was it's dead. There was probably 3 stores out of the downtown. Oh, I couldn't believe it. It was just one after one, and it was just driving down this ghost town.
There's a couple of those out there that kind of got.
Yeah, they're taking the Big Valley's taking a beating right now.
Yep.
Isn't that where you said we'll survive?
What's that?
We'll survive?
Oh, we'll survive. We have survived and we will survive. Well, yeah.
Ebbs and flows.
And I can get you the history on it.
Schedule would help us thrive though, potentially.
Yeah, if you.
And then my only last comment that I wanted to bring up, I know that you said you had earmarked the 40K, kind of ballparking something for I would hate to spend 40K on another study or whatever pardon my French, whatever the hell it is. Can we get some quotes to that number?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring back, if you like, we'll have the proposal and a contract for council approval.
Yeah, give me a hot second.
Wendy and I can work.
Yeah, no, I
It's okay. Keep going.
the special tax study.
Oh,
I don't want to spend 40K on that. I don't want
Yeah.
to hate paying consultants.
yeah. I mean, who's gonna do it?
I don't know.
And I don't even in this climate right now with the economy the way it is. Do you think a tax is gonna fly? I mean,
Bad streets.
But we're getting
Yeah.
streets fixed though.
Getting fixed.
Those are getting better. I tell you, since we've grown up here, these streets have never been in better shape, and a lot of people don't understand that.
I'd like to report some graffiti on the street in front of my house.
That's called the USA. That's making sure they don't dig through a
Was it
And-
personal?
and that's a significant pipeline, so your house would probably vaporize if they did hit it, so it's probably a good thing. Okay, any questions? We're gonna go public comment. Any public comment on all this
Stuff
fun stuff?
for attendees. Oh, hi.
Silver user? We allow that?
If anybody in Zoom wishes to make a public comment, please use the hand raise button. Going once, going twice.
Okay.
Seeing none, Mayor?
Anybody else? Nope, nothing. Okay. I guess that's the end, right? Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And if we do the 18th and 20th, I won't be here the 25th. But I can give some comments to you, my concerns.
And I will not be here on the 18th.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Okay.
I can find a way to not be here either. day. Not hard.
Wow.
Roll call.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes. And thanks again for all of us staying civil and nobody yelling at each other. Thank you.